The title of my mixed methods presentation is Wordless Picture Books, an appropriate literary starting point for emergent bilingual kindergartners. My research rationale and problem is that schools ask many young children to perform tasks they are not yet prepared to complete. For example, there is currently an overemphasis on phonics and print elements in the early childhood classroom, and this is given a backseat to what children are naturally drawn to, which is pictures. This disconnect can be a challenge for any child who lacks developed conceptualization surrounding print and pictures. And it can be even more detrimental for students who speak another language other than the primary instructional language of English. And this overemphasis of print too early can stifle a child's later literary development, according to Ferrero and Tiborowski. These researchers advocate for schools to approach learning by honoring each child's own linguistic competence, but what happens is that teachers are unsure of what to do. So the students at the lowest levels of conceptualization aren't ready for phonics instruction and print elements, and teachers are left wondering what they might do to bridge this gap for their students. So for myself, I was wondering perhaps wordless picture books would be a appropriate instructional practice and tool to use to begin developing a child's literary conceptualizations and print conceptualizations based on their preference for pictures. So I have 3 research questions. This quantitative question: what levels of emergent writing are observed through instruction with wordless picture books? Qualitative question is: how do wordless picture books help young emergent bilingual learners develop emergent biliteracy skills? And the mixed methods question is: building on the child's preference of constructing meaning of print through pictures, can tasks with wordless picture books be an appropriate starting point to foster emergent biliteracy skills in young emergent bilingual learners? I chose a convergent mixed methods design. Both strands of data were collected at the same time, and then the data is analyzed against each other. In regards to my design, I worked with 4 emergent bilingual kindergartners over the course of just 6 lessons. So this was definitely a mini study in regards to the number of lessons and the number of students that I worked with. In regards to the qualitative data collection, I use anecdotal notes during the sessions and also interviews of the students. The quantitative data collection consisted of marking incidences of specific stages of writing, and particularly a comparison of the first and last session's work samples. Here are the individual strand findings. Here are the qualitative ones, where the students were increasingly comfortable with trying to write on their own without direction from the teacher. They really wanted to focus on what am I telling them to write, which is what I have observed in their classroom. They are used to the teacher telling them what to write. So over the course of these lessons, they became increasingly comfortable with trying to write things on their own. Drawing and copying from environmental print were the preferred kinds of writing throughout the sessions. And students in the interviews began to elaborate a great deal when speaking of their own drawings, even though the drawings were rudimentary in nature. And students regularly referenced the wordless picture book to make connections to their own writing or drawing. And students inferred meaning from the pictures of the wordless picture book to create a cohesive story sequence. But what was really nice to see and for them to speak about was that the students were able to comprehend the story of the wordless picture book, and that comprehension increased with repeated readings and viewings of the same book. Here are the data collected from the first and last session. These particular numbers represent the number of words that the student was writing, or what they said that they were writing. So you can see these were the top scores: copying from environmental print, invented spelling, and also pictures. And so there was a difference. Oh, that's a mistake here. That should be a difference of 3. because they became more detailed in what they were doing, and they also became quicker, which made them draw more as they became more confident. So the overall findings is, number one, I would like to acknowledge the fact that it was a small number of students and it was only over 6 lessons. So I would like to have increased in a number of students and also the length of time. But with that said, wordless picture books did encourage oral language development and generated natural discourse among the students about the story and its elements. Students became increasingly capable readers and writers. Here, when the quantitative, I would ask them exactly in the interview what it was that they were writing about. And they were able, if it was right afterwards, they were able to remember what it was. And wordless picture books allowed for immediate reading and writing to take place. They weren't having to construct meaning from the words. They were able to immediately start telling the story, which is beneficial for young emergent bilingual kindergartners. Reflections on the process. I feel the same about conducting the qualitative strand of a research project. That's something that I feel comfortable in. I have a very small increased level of understanding of the quantitative strand, and as I only have 2 more classes left before the dissertation stage, if I do choose to do a mixed method study in my dissertation, I'll need to become more familiar with the dissertation requirements of a mixed methods study before I would consider doing a mixed methods dissertation.